Hello and welcome back to the G5 Family Channel. Hope you're having a great day. And today's video, I'm gonna do a little bit of a rant. You won't hear me do this very often because I try to, I don't wanna say spin negatives into a positive, but I do try to find the positive side of things. And it's important for me to mention that I chose to move to the Philippines. I chose to live here. I choose to live here. And so how can I really complain? I mean, if I've got complaints, then I just need to go back home. Well, we live in the real world. And so living in the real world, yeah, sure, we're gonna have complaints. And that's kind of what this is, even though it really doesn't have anything to do with the Philippines specifically. It actually has more to do with travel and this lingering pandemic. Goodness gracious. So anyway, thanks for clicking into this video. And by the way, we've experienced a little surge of growth here on the channel, and I just want to welcome all of our new subscribers. Thanks for joining up with us. Your feedback, your comments, all of your comments and questions are super inspiring and just kind of keeps me going. So yeah, so thanks for that. So in today's topic, I'm going to be talking about a new protocol, a new regulation or guideline that's been brought down by the IATF. That's the Interagency Task Force that more or less polices all of these processes, policies. And so with that, you know, and a lot of people will think this is great news. With that, as long as you're vaccinated, you no longer have to get the RT-PCR test, you know, the whole 48 hours in advance of your travel test. You're vaccinated, you show them your card, and you pass right through. So if you're vaccinated, that is good news. You know, it's one less hassle. And that is going to be for adults from 12 years old and up. 12 years and younger will still have to get the RT-PCR, and without vaccinations will have to undergo a facility-based quarantine. And those parents or guardians will also have to accompany, regardless if you've been vaccinated or not, will have to accompany the 12 or younger minor for that quarantine. So if you're planning a trip to the Philippines and you're not vaccinated, you're not going to be allowed in. And this is sort of where my rant begins, because I thought the pandemic was over and behind us in the rearview mirror. Now, I'm not a dummy and I'm not naive. I realize that there's going to be ongoing changes, you know, as a result of going through a pandemic for the last 2 years. I do understand that. But for the people that have chosen to hold off on the vaccine for whatever reason, have held off because they don't feel like it's safe, it was thrown together fairly quickly, no long-term testing, et cetera, and have decided not to get the vaccine, then suddenly your ability to travel in and out of the Philippines is, well, it's actually just stopped. So literally, you cannot travel into the Philippines. And so I'm going to go ahead and divulge the fact that me and my family are one of those holdouts. My wife and I take this very serious. We have 3 children, and we've considered the pros and cons of both sides, and we've chosen to hold off. Now, as I've said in previous videos, we're not militant about it. We're not trying to make any sort of statement. We're just simply looking out for ourselves and just saying, you know, let's just hold off and let's just see how it goes before we, you know, jump on the bandwagon. And if you have gotten the vaccine, then that's great. I mean, again, this is not me trying to make any sort of political or social statement at all. This is just me doing what I feel like is best for our family. And I'll even add that, as I said a minute ago, in the last several months, I want to say at least 3 or 4 months, you know, we've sort of put the pandemic behind us. Having this, you know, absolute rigid rule placed on us, again, is a little bit disheartening. That's a good way to, actually, that's the right word. Disheartening. It's like, come on, really? And for the last several months, the whole process for, you know, getting the RT-PCR test before you, that seems to have worked. I mean, the COVID cases are down. You know, I mean, they're practically flatlined. Why fix something that's not broken? It's working. And is it a hassle to get the PCR test? Yeah, a little bit. And that has all worked fine without placing this regimented absolute requirement on people. Again, this is not me trying to make any kind of social statement at all. It's just, as it is right now, if we needed to make a trip to the US and return, we would have to go and get vaccines. And I'm not even sure. I mean, they're saying booster shots and all that kind of stuff. So how long would that take? I mean, is that 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months? I don't know. I don't know enough about it because, like I said, I just haven't gone through it. So I have to accept the fact that as a result of me exercising my freedom and us not getting the vaccines, that the repercussions are we can't travel, at least internationally. We can't go to the US and return unless we decide to get vaccinated. And let me just mention this too. We are closer today than we were 2 years ago. I mean, we're more accepting of the idea today, 2 years later. So, you know, as time passes and we see that people are not having, you know, adverse effects, at least in the short term, that, okay, you know, maybe it's all right. Maybe it's just a matter of using some wisdom and allowing time to pass. Don't make rash decisions. I always say that. It's okay to wait a minute. You don't have to jump into life-altering decisions without, you know, some observation, allow things to process. So the good news in all of that is we're not in any immediate need to travel. But if I'm providing information, I do want to tell all of my folks out there that as it stands right now, and once these kind of guidelines are implemented, they don't change very quickly. And I see this extending, you know, if not the next year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, indefinitely. So just be aware that if you're planning a trip to the Philippines, at least for now, you need to have the vaccination. And if that's a deal breaker to go to the Philippines, then it is what it is, right? So finally, it begs the question, to vax or not to vax? That is the great question. And by the way, I'd love to hear from you guys. Share your experiences. Let me know. And if you've had the vaccine and you've not had any kind of, you know, after effects or side effects, you know, it'd be good to know. And if you have traveled, in March, they open the borders. So if you've traveled over here since March, you know, let me know what your experience was like. Was it easy squeezy? Did you just go through with your vaccination card or your RT-PCR or both or whatever? It would be cool to know that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to close with this one statement. Is the pandemic over? Apparently not. So I'll wrap it up. Thanks for watching this video. As I said in the beginning, thanks to all of my new subscribers, and thanks just as much to all of our friends who have been with us since day one. We really appreciate all of you. Click the like button. That helps us a lot. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Why not? It's free. And we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.